Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's Learning Series event. So we're doing things a little bit different this week. This week, we're covering mastering virtual career fairs and employment engagement. So Here's Make America started these types of workshops to assist the broader military community with tips and tricks to help land that next career. So whether you're currently in the process of separating out of the service, or maybe you're already out, transition from the military is a process. Or if you are a military spouse who's looking for your next career, this is also beneficial to help understand how to continue to make yourself competitive each change of station. And with all the way things are going nowadays, understanding how to do that in a virtual environment is crucial. So welcome again. Let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Katie Bowerman. I'm a senior manager with the Manufacturing Institute, and I oversee the Virtual Heroes Make America virtual skill bridge training program. And then we'll talk about that in a minute, in addition to a variety of other virtual events like this workshop series that we put on for our military community. So I'm going to also take a minute. Let me have my co-presenter introduce herself, and then we'll dive into the presentation for today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Wolford, and I am the Director of Program Operations for Heroes Make America, currently located at Fort Riley, Kansas, but I do oversee all of our DoD skill bridge programs while also focusing on process and operational improvements. And I do look forward to leading today's session alongside Katie.
Thanks, Rachel. So let's cover some general guidelines as we go through this event. So first off, it is being recorded. You probably got that notification when you came on, just so we can send it out as part of the event recap email. So please stay muted throughout the presentation, just to minimize any of that background noise, but I still encourage you to be an active participant. So Rachel and I love questions, so throw them into the chat box as we are going through the presentation, and we'll either kind of address them as we're going through the material, or we'll come back to them during Q&A session at the end. But really, this is your opportunity to ask those questions that maybe you weren't, or maybe you don't feel comfortable asking, in front of employers, in the event on when you go to the career fair. So use this time today to pick our brains and ask us any of those questions. So let's talk a little bit about Heroes Make America before we dive into the topic, because we do have our students on the call, but we might also have other folks who are military connected, who may be active duty still, veteran, maybe not one of our skill bridge programs, who are here. So Heroes Make America, just so you know, is a pretty dynamic program. So it started with our duty skill bridge program. We actually have 8 different training programs across the country, 5 in person and 3 virtual. And we have those trainings for transitioning active duty service members and veterans and military spouses to train in various skills needed by our industry. So second, we have the almost weekly Heroes Connect event, where we bring in one company each week to talk about the company and opportunities and connect with you all. So that's typically what we have during this time slot, but we also have this veteran learning series. So we kicked this off last year, and we wanted to do these as open events and crucial topics to help prepare you all in your career search. And then lastly, the other piece of Heroes Make America, we did kick off quarterly virtual career fairs last year. And so this is our second year doing those fairs. Our next one is this Friday, Friday, May 8th, May 10th. Oh my goodness, today is this Friday, May 10th, 11 to 2 Eastern. So make sure you adjust your time slot accordingly to your time zone. And then if you weren't aware, we also have some in-person career fairs. So we do have these virtual career fairs, and then we started the in-person ones last year. We have one upcoming at Fort Riley, Kansas on July 11th, and we have one down at Fort Cavazos on July 31st. It will be that one. So we're super busy. We're going to drop in a couple links for you to peruse all of what Heroes Make America has planned. So I mentioned our DoD Skill Bridge program. These are our training tracks. So we train in operations, we train in industrial systems, and we also train in logistics. So if you're not one of our students, but you're interested in our program, please let us know. We have all of our contact information in the chat box. All right, so let's talk about that upcoming event. So we're doing this workshop mainly in preparation for the career fair this Friday, May 10th. This event, like I said, will be 11 to 2 Eastern. Please be sure to adjust for your time zone. However, this information is really geared towards virtual career fairs in general. So the information can be used to prepare for any career fair or employer engagement to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. I do want to point out the registration is required for this Friday, and probably for most virtual career fairs, probably all virtual career fairs require some kind of registration, and then in-person ones may also have some kind of registration. So be on the lookout for that. It is important as part of your registration. I just want to put a plug here to upload your resume. So especially if you're actively job searching for positions, it is crucial to upload your resume as part of the event registration. And you may ask yourself, what happens if I did not upload my resume during registration? No worries, especially for our upcoming one on May 10th. Don't stress, you can modify your registration. You should have received an email after you registered for the event. Okay, it's going to look something like this on the left, where it says your registration has been confirmed. On the bottom of that email, there is the option to modify your registration. You click that, you modify your registration, and then you can upload your resume. So you may have registered and uploaded your resume with one version of your resume, right? But maybe you've made some adjustments. So you've kind of tweaked it, you've modified it. It's okay. You can go back to your registration and upload a more recent version if you would like, or if you forgot to upload it, go back and upload it. I do recommend when you're doing that to upload it as a PDF, just to make sure that formatting doesn't change when the employers try and open your resume on their end. So that's this event. So that's this Friday, the virtual career fair that we're going to be talking about. That's how you modify your registration. And now I'm going to pass it on over to Rachel to kick us off with the different topics for today.
Thanks so much, Katie. So we're going to start off today and dive into some of the details on how to achieve success at a career fair. And we're going to touch on 3 key areas. So what to do before, during, and after the event. And I will say that each one of these is critically important. So really pay attention to what we share with you today. So we can go to the next slide, Katie. All right, so before the event. So get ready to supercharge your success at a Heroes Make America virtual career fair. And like Katie said, this can be used across any platform and really for in-person career fairs as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into those crucial steps that you need to take to make sure that you stand out, right? So we're talking a lot about preparation, gearing yourself up, fine-tuning your documents, and then covering the pre-event research. So it's time to up your game, right? And get ready to conquer our virtual career fair. So we want to start first. If you registered or have already registered for the career fair that is this Friday, May 10th, I'm glad Katie got through all the dates so that I can make sure I said it correctly. But you should have received an email like the one pictured above. So that email included an attachment with critical pieces of information about the employers currently scheduled for the event. If you did not receive this email or do not see it, please double check your spam or junk email folders. And then once again, if you haven't registered yet, you probably did not get that email. So we will make sure to send that out to you as well. So now that you know what to look for, let's dive into how to use the information on that document. So as you can see here, the employer details attachment really provides critical information that you can use to start researching employers in advance of the event. We also provide you the dedicated point of contact for each organization so that you can follow up after the event, and we'll cover that here in just a bit. Right now, let's focus on the pre-event prep. It is our recommendation that you visit each employer's career website as you see linked above. Even if they reference they are only hiring for a specific area or region, keep your options open. You never know what unique opportunity may present itself to you unless you're willing to explore your options. We also recommend that you spend some time on their About page to learn more about the organization as a whole. So let's take a look at what these pages may look like on our next slide. All right, so I'm sure that this may look familiar to some of you. This is a landing page for one of our wonderful supporters, Niagara Bottling. But we'll touch base on the About section first. So an employer's About section is kind of like a treasure trove of insights. It's where you can uncover the company's history, its mission, values, and the unique vibe that sets it apart from the rest. Think of this as a window into their soul, revealing their story, their passion, and their vision for the future. What's really great about this is this can be used as a conversation starter, right? So whether you're engaging with an employer virtually or in person, you can use information that you learn from this portion of their website to guide your conversation, right? If you know that growth is happening with them, they're expanding to your area, being able to use that and talk about that shows that you've actually done research, right? So it shows that you've put in the time, that you're invested. And then the careers page. So an employer's careers section is really your gateway to opportunity, your ticket to the future. It's like stepping into a world of endless possibilities. They can be a little bit intimidating based on how they're set up. So be patient with yourself. I have to give myself grace all the time, but really use that to explore their job openings. Deep dives into this section can uncover not just job listings, but insights into the company's culture, their commitment to employee development, and the exciting projects that you could be a part of. It's your chance to find the perfect match between your skills and passion and a company that values and nurtures both of those. Do not be deceived by the position titles that you find here. Make sure to really spend some time reading the position description to see if it's a good fit. Right off the top of my mind, I always think about a student that we had come through the Heroes program, very strong maintenance mechanical background, wanted to continue down that career path, and he was exploring Johnson & Johnson in Florida. When he went in and was on their careers website, he saw that there was a bunch of engineering technician positions open. He didn't even take the time to open them up and look at those positions because he saw engineering and immediately thought, I don't have a degree in engineering. I'm not qualified for this job. But once we spent some time together going into those positions, there were no degree requirements. What they wanted was somebody with a maintenance and mechanical background, aptitude. So don't let the position title define whether or not it's a right fit for you. Open up the job and take a look at it. All right, now here's a really important part of that pre-event planning. So you've learned how to research our participating companies. While you're doing this, you're going to want to craft your information sheet that you can use to easily access while you're on the event, right? We don't want to be trying to grab stuff and throw it in to the chat all willy-nilly. We want to kind of have ourselves composed and ready to go. So this sheet's going to contain some critical information that you can share with an employer and will be especially important during the breakout room sessions. It's going to allow you to have all your information in one place where you can copy and paste it into the chat and or email as necessary. So first and most important is going to be your contact information. So you're going to want to have your name in there. And this is an important part. I know Katie will talk about it here when we talk about during the event, but also naming yourself when you get into the Zoom platform so we know who you are when you ask questions or drop information in the chat. A professional email. Okay. So I know some of us have our emails from 15 years ago. I think mine's KU Craze was the first one I built. I was a huge Jayhawks fan. Don't judge me for it. But it's probably not the one I want to use with an employer. Good examples are first name dot last name at whatever domain you want to use, but having a professional email is really important. And then your LinkedIn URL. So making sure that you've got that readily available. And we're going to talk a little bit on the next slide about how you can update your LinkedIn URL as well to kind of shorten it and make it easier to read. I would recommend refraining from sharing your phone number in like the chat and breakout room sessions. This is a public facing event. And so email and LinkedIn should be sufficient for them to reach out to you. But it does mean that you must check your email on a routine basis. As an active job seeker, we recommend checking it every 24 hours during the business week, so Monday through Friday. We want to be prompt with our responses to employers. Next is your 30-second elevator pitch. And we're going to drop a resource into the chat for you that can be used to help develop that elevator pitch because it really should be personalized to you. It's a quick way to tell your story. But it should be about a 30-second introduction where you tell an employer who you are, what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and who you do it for, right? So if you've got some accomplishments that you're really proud of, sharing those things, if you completed a project or you saved the company money or things like that, highlighting that in there, but also telling them, what you want to do. Right? So knowing that audience. So these are employers, right? You're wanting them to hire you. So you want to tell them all the reasons that you're going to add value to their organization. Make a list by company of any roles that you may be interested in. And consider listing the types of roles you might be interested in and ask if they'll have any positions like that coming available with their organization. Workforce needs are constantly ongoing and new jobs are added every day. So don't be afraid when you're in those chat rooms, those breakout sessions to drop those positions in there. Hey, I'm really interested in this position. I would love to talk with somebody about this. The employers are going to be able to download that chat transcript to use as a reference as well. So they get some follow-on materials after the event to you is to engage with you as well. And then a big one, ensure that you have questions for the employers. Remember that these opportunities to network and engage with employers are a two-way conversation, as you should be ensuring that they are the right company for you as well. We're going to drop a great resource in the chat that you can utilize to identify key questions of importance to you. And one of the things I like about this link in this document is it kind of breaks them out based on how the question relates to that organization. So maybe it's questions about their culture, or what does training and development look like? What does their onboarding process look like? Because you kind of want to know, do they want me to come in and be career ready immediately, or is there a training pathway that I'm going to go through? So those are critical questions that you want to ask during the event. And then make sure to capture any key information from the employers and their recruiters from the breakout room chat. So once again, you've got this information sheet. You can grab that and copy and paste that right in there so that you have their information to follow up with them as well. And then let's just touch base real quickly on some other best practices. So, and these are all meant to ensure that you're successful during a career fair. So we recommend using a computer for easier access to chat in breakout rooms. But if you have to use your phone, update your Zoom app. There's nothing more frustrating than going to either get into a session, to even log into the virtual career fair, and it says, hey, you have to download this update. So now you're delaying yourself. You may miss some critical information. We encourage the use of virtual backgrounds to minimize distractions. As an example, you see right here, I've got the Heroes Make America background on. That's because I'm at one of our education partners' offices. So I don't want everybody to see what's in the background behind me. Maybe you're going to be doing it from home and you don't necessarily want everybody to see your kitchen or your bedroom. Maybe you didn't make the bed today. So it's okay to use those virtual backgrounds. Make sure, as we touched on before, to rename yourself so that employers know who you are. You don't want to be called by iPhone if you ask a question, right? So you can easily change yourself. You can click on your picture. Up in the right-hand corner is 3 dots, and you can click that rename button to name yourself. So it's a very easy process. If you need to, you can practice it today. Be in a set physical location for 100% attention. No driving during the event. 1, it's dangerous. And 2, you can't really give the speakers, the presenters, the employers you're engaging with your full attention if you're distracted by all these external sources, right? If you are, for some reason, driving at that very beginning of the event, keep yourself off camera, get yourself positioned, and then get that camera turned on. And then dressing for success, okay? We know it's a virtual event, right? So they're not necessarily going to see everything from the waist down unless you're going to embarrass yourself and stand up and walk away during the event. But make sure you look nice, right? Dress the same as you would for an in-person career fair. Don't necessarily have to have a suit jacket, but maybe a polo or a nice top, a button up. We always say if you look good, you feel good, and first impressions matter even in a virtual career fair. Have that PDF of your resume readily available. You can drop it in the chat. They may say, hey, if you want to send your resume to us, here's an email address. You can quickly fire that off if you want. So just have that always available to you. We already talked a little bit about the professional email, so I won't dive into that too much. But once again, if you're like me, you created your Gmail 15 years ago. You also get 100 spam emails a day because you use it to register for everything. And you could really also miss those important emails from a potential employer. So that's where maybe creating an email that's professional and dedicated to just job seeking can be a big win for you. And then updating your LinkedIn URL. So a lot of you will probably find if you try and put your LinkedIn URL in there, it's probably got your name and 15, 20 numbers and letters right after it. We're dropping a link in the chat right now that tells you how you can go in and update your LinkedIn URL. That way you can shorten it, make it very professional, and make it easy to share with others. So with that, I'm going to hand the ball over to Katie. You've gotten to listen to me talk for long enough, and she's going to cover our next area.
Awesome. Thank Rachel. I will also mention if you update your LinkedIn URL as part of this process, just make sure it matches on your resume. So that does happen, right? You're updating it and then you're dropping in your PDF of your resume, and then you forget to change it if it's up at the top of your contact information. So just don't forget to make sure the documents match. Same with your email if you're uploading those. Okay. All right, so we talked about before the event, best practices to set yourself up for success. And remember, so even if you're not quite in the job search window, doing this research ahead of time and maximizing your time with these employers is important in the overall process as you're learning about companies, learning about opportunities, so that when you are ready to submit all those applications, you're ready to go, right? So doing all this preparation is still important so you can gain knowledge of different employers that are out there, because we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know that some of these companies exist, especially in manufacturing, because when you look at names of companies, most of the time we've never even heard of them, but yet they make cardboard boxes that you see every single day. You just didn't know they made it. Right. And so learning about the different companies is important. So now let's talk through the event. You got yourself ready. I did see a question about, can I wear my Heroes Make America polo shirt? Yes, absolutely. I think that also helps with the employers identifying who our students are. So that is also very helpful. So definitely wear your polo. And now we're ready to jump into the event. So let's talk through the schedule, what to expect. Let's talk about navigating those breakout rooms, because if we're not used to navigating them on Zoom, it can be a little daunting the day of. We don't need any of those extra nerves going on. So let's talk through how do you do that, and then some other best practices to do during the event to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. Okay, so what's happening on Friday? It's really broken out into two portions. The first hour, so 11 to 12 Eastern, is going to be employer presentations. We have a group of the employers who register for the event who are called our premier employers. They have a slot in the beginning to give a short presentation on their company to help you understand who they are. Because again, we don't know what we don't know, and their name may not tell us, what do they make or what do they do? So having this brief presentation in the beginning helps build that interest so that you guys know, based off your research, what companies you want to talk to. But then additionally, maybe there was a company that spoke to you while they were doing their presentations, and now you want to add them to your list to go into the breakout room portion. Okay. So that first hour are the employer presentations. And then the last 2 hours is when you meet the employers. You jump into the breakout rooms. We got a 2-hour session. We typically recommend that you aim for about 15 minutes per session to really listen to the employers, what they have to say. Sometimes they have videos. They do a Q&A session. So it's really informational to stay in there a good chunk of time before jumping over to the next one. Okay. But I do recommend having maybe a priority list. So as you're going through your spreadsheet that Rachel had gone through, maybe prioritize, what are your number ones or your top 5 that you want to go in and make sure that you talk with these employers first. Okay. So have your top employers, but then also I encourage you to stay the whole time. Go to the other rooms. Every time we do this event, Rachel and I stay in the lobby and kind of help moderate the traffic while you guys are in the breakout rooms. We always have students come back or job seekers come back and who are like, oh, I don't know, I don't see anyone that I want to talk to. And we always encourage them, well, ask, are you open to remote? Do they have remote positions? Are they open to hybrid opportunities or things like that? And we've had folks go back to the employers and ask these questions, and then they learned about these other positions that they never even would have known about if they didn't go and just hop back in those breakout rooms. So spend the 2 hours, talk to all of them. You just don't know what could come out of it. Okay, so that's the schedule of events. Let's talk briefly about navigating those breakout rooms. I'm gonna make them live just so you can see them on the navigation panel, but please don't go over the breakout rooms. This is just for demonstration purposes. So let me make them live. What happens is you go to your navigation bar on Zoom, okay? 2 different things may happen. You might see in this picture and on your Zoom navigation bar, the 4 little squares that says breakout room. You just click it and then it opens up the list of breakout rooms, and then you'll navigate between them. Okay, so you just see the day of, it'll have all the employers in alphabetical order. You just hit join on the right. So it's very self-explanatory. You hit join and it brings you on over to that breakout room. Okay, very simple. But if you don't see that breakout room in your navigation bar, you might be like, ah, my Zoom is broken. Nope, it's okay. You just go to the more option on your panel. So there's three little dots. It says more. You hit that, and then within that list typically is where breakout rooms exists. So that's how you find them. So if you want to kind of look at yours and see where it is, like I said, don't go over to the breakout rooms because no one's over there, but you can pull it up and see, it says room 1 and room 2, and that's how you would join the day of. All right. If you're on your phone, so like Rachel mentioned, I highly recommend that you are in person. But if you do have to do it on your phone, if your Zoom app is not updated, you may not be able to see that breakout room. So there's a certain version of Zoom before that feature is not available. Okay, so that's also an important reason why you need to update your Zoom on your phone. All right, so day of, you're like, I found my first employer. I'm going into that breakout room. Maybe that 15 minutes has wrapped up and you're ready to go on to your next employer. When you're in that breakout room, on the bottom, just like how there is to leave a meeting in general, there is the blue button that says leave room. And two of the options come up, right? You can either leave the breakout room, which we recommend. If you leave the breakout room, you come back to the main lobby with me and Rachel, and then you can jump back into another breakout room after that. Or if you hit leave meeting, don't stress. It will get you out of Zoom. You'll fall out of Zoom, but don't worry about it. Just click back on the link, come back in. We'll let you back in if you do fall out. But just so you know, hitting that leave breakout room will bring you back to the lobby, and then you can choose your next employer for the next breakout room. Okay, so that's how you navigate the breakout room. So real simple, but one of those things, if we don't know how to do it, then it can be very stressful the day of. Some other best practices to do during the event. One, we recommend logging in early. Just don't stress, get there 5 minutes, 10 minutes early, just hang out in the weight room, get yourself situated, and you don't want to be late because we have those presentations in the beginning. So if you miss the first 15, 20, 30 minutes, then you're missing crucial presentations and learning about different employment opportunities and different employers. So I recommend logging in early. Doesn't have to be 30 minutes, 5, 10 minutes is fine. It should automatically mute yourself, but I do recommend staying muted and ensuring that to make sure that it's not a distraction to the employers. Other than when you're in the breakout room, obviously when you ask questions, you will unmute yourself. I do want to just remind you, your camera should be on during especially the breakout rooms. And if they are on during the presentations and or during the breakout rooms, just be mindful of your facial expressions because that camera is on and you're one of those squares in the Brady Bunch. Be mindful if you are getting up out of your chair to go somewhere. It's probably better to turn off your camera at that point versus just seeing a blank chair. So just be mindful of what's happening on your computer. Having that virtual background that Rachel had recommended is important, right? So that you can't see everything that's going on in the background. But just being aware since your camera is on. I do recommend being an active participant. Doing all the prep Rachel said, you've got your questions ready, you've got some things that you want to mention during the breakout room. So actively participate. And we totally understand that not everyone wants to come off of mute and talk during a breakout room. Sometimes our nerves, we just don't, that's not us. We don't want to have those verbal conversations. Live in the chat box. That's totally okay. If you actively participate in the chat box, you ask the employers questions, they have the chat transcript afterwards that they can download so that, again, that's important why your name needs to be first name, last name, so they can identify who asked these questions and they can reach back out to you after. Okay, so actively participate, ask those questions. Part of the beginning of the event, we will also ask you to drop in your where you're going to be job searching, so your location. And so that'll also be important where you get started in the main lobby, list where you're located, and then the employers can actively respond to your chat. So keeping an eye on that during the main session as well will be important. And then when we get into the breakout room. Another thing, just be respectful, right? We're not the only ones in these breakout rooms. So just being respectful of your fellow job seekers. We want you to ask questions. We want you to actively participate, but also on the flip side, don't dominate the conversation, right? We got to have a space for everyone to be able to ask questions. Other than there are going to be times where maybe you're one of just you or one of two folks in a breakout room because folks have moved to other breakout rooms. That's okay. Spend that individualized time with the employer, ask all the questions that you have, and then we move on right to the next one. Okay, other things that you can do is provide feedback. So either in the breakout room, if you have any feedback for the presenters, like this was super helpful, or maybe can we, it would have been helpful to have a link to be able to schedule with you, whatever it is. feedback for the employers, or when you are leaving the event, there is a survey that'll pop up at the very end. Short couple question survey. Just make sure that you fill that out on the way out. Heroes Make America, as a team, we greatly take feedback to heart. And so we always want to adjust our events to meet our job seekers' needs. So definitely fill out that survey on your way out so we can adjust accordingly moving forward. So that's it. That's what's happening during the event. Be present, actively ask questions, prepare your questions ahead of time, and then don't be shy. Even if it's just live in the chat box, that's okay. Ask all your questions and maybe schedule one-on-one time with employers after the event where you guys can have a conversation just about your situation and opportunities that maybe you're looking at. So that is during the event. I'm going to pass it on back to Rachel to talk about what to do after.
Thanks, Katie. So, what you do after the event is as critically important as what you did before and during. So you've had the opportunity to engage with employers, you've captured key contact information. So what do you do next? Well, lucky for you, we're going to cover that in the next set of slides, but we're going to talk about staying engaged. We're going to provide some sample of like a post-event email that you could send to employers to continue the conversation. And then we want to be sure to show you what the employer's perspective looks like as well. So we'll go ahead and hop forward. So staying engaged. So just like with interviews and job applications, we want to make sure we're showing follow through and intent, right? So as you can see here, things don't stop when you click leave at the end of the virtual career fair. We've created this flow chart to really show you how to continue to capitalize on the interactions that you had during the event. So first and foremost, continue to research those employers even after the event. As we discussed earlier in the session, they're constantly updating their career opportunities, or maybe you popped into a breakout room for an employer that you didn't do a lot of research on because you weren't sure that they were a right fit, but now you're like, I'm incredibly interested. We'll go back to that careers page, go back to that about section. Provide any deliverables that an employer requested. Did they ask you to schedule a follow-up call with them? Make sure to do that. Did they ask you to send you their resume? Send them your resume. We'll get these words correctly today. Make sure to do that, right? And make sure to reference how you met them. And then connect with employers on LinkedIn to build your network. Even if that company or recruiter didn't have exactly what you were looking for, you're just creating pathways in which they can continue to engage you. So maybe they had in their mind, like, ooh, let's see, we'll pick a name, Victor. I talked to that Victor Davis guy and he talked about, these career paths at this location he was interested in, and now I've had one open. So I want to make sure I engage with him. So give them that opportunity. Like I said, schedule those follow-up calls and informational interviews. Send a post-event email. And I'm going to show you an example of that in just a moment. But keep yourself top of mind for these recruiters, right? Continue to engage with them. So that they know you're truly interested, right? You may go to a job fair, both in person and virtually. You may engage with all these employers, but the ones you really follow up with, those are the ones that you're really showing commitment to. Apply. So landing that next career is the goal, right? So we want to make sure that we're applying for those positions that we're interested in. And when you do that, make sure that you connect with our team after you apply so that we can make those employers aware. So while you should be doing follow-up and engagement with the employers, we want to help reach out on your behalf as well. And then share your success stories with us. We'd love to hear about how the event went for you. If you've moved forward with one of our employers, there may be an opportunity for us to help highlight you as well. And then prepare for the next event by doing an after action review, right? Everybody knows for the most part what an AAR is in the military, right? So we're going to assess what worked well, what didn't work well, and maybe what we could do better the next time. So it's an evolution. We're constantly growing. It's the same thing with interviews, right? Each interview prepares us for the next one. Each career fair should prepare you for the next one.
Rachel, if you don't mind me adding a success story. So
Yes.
about the where, share your success story with us. We actually had someone, veteran, non-Heroes Make America student, who came to one of our career fairs, went to a breakout room with a company who he had never heard of, and he hung out in that breakout room for probably at least half hour. And through rotations of different folks who would come in and ask questions, and he stayed there because he just loved what they had to say. Come to find out, he applied to one of their positions, and now he is leading their breakout room at the event this Friday because he got hired on as a talent acquisition folks for that company and now is doing the event on their behalf. This was our, I think, November event. So it works. People are getting jobs from these events. You've just got to put in that time and energy and have those conversations during the event. So it does happen, and we love to hear about that because then we can encourage our future job seekers when they're going to these events. It does happen. Success does happen. Another thing I just wanted to mention about the connecting on LinkedIn, scheduling follow-up calls, similar things, just remember apply to those as well. I don't recommend driving during your follow-up call. Treat it as a professional meeting, stay at your, wherever it is, a place that doesn't have a lot of distractions, and be present for those calls because that's when you have the individual conversation with the recruiters or whoever it is from that company. And that's where the dominoes start to fall. Okay. So just continuing that same mindset from the career fair into those post-event scheduled follow-up calls. So just wanted to drop that in, Rachel, before you moved into the next section.
No, I appreciate it. And I want to reinforce the success story that Katie is talking about. He went into a talent acquisition position. So even though this is a military to manufacturing event, right? So we're working with companies that are operating in the manufacturing and logistics sector. They have all the types of roles you can think of available, right? You just have to be willing to have the conversation, to ask the question, to even go into the room and say, hey, this is what I did in the military, my experience, my background, what I'm passionate about. What types of roles should I be looking for within your organization? Let them share with you the types of jobs, the position titles that you should be considering applying for, because there's so many, right? There's thousands of different job titles out there, and that in and of itself can be a little bit intimidating. So use these conversations to help guide that for you as well. So that's where that go back to that continuing to research. Maybe that in that breakout room, they tell you, oh, you should see what positions we have open that are titled this. After the event, go back and truly follow through with those recommendations.
I'm going to add on again because you keep making me think of other things. So just like your engineering example, a maintenance service member who's looking at those positions, no engineering background, but still worked. Same with we've got a lot of logistics, a lot of people with supply chain background. Maybe you never would have clicked on a job posting that says maintenance coordinator because it says maintenance and you're not a maintenance person. Well, a maintenance coordinator is not doing the maintenance. They're coordinating the maintenance. They're doing work orders and ordering all the parts and everything to do the maintenance. It's more logistics focused than it is maintenance focused. But if you didn't click on that job posting and read through the position description, you wouldn't have even have known. And that's where I'm going to echo what Rachel said is go in there, talk about what your background is and ask them, what are some titles of positions I should be looking for to help you navigate that process. Again, we don't know, but we don't know.
That's exactly right. All right, so on this next slide here, this is a really great example of how, sorry, an extra thing popped up on my screen here, how one of our Heroes Make America graduates reached out to employers after our last virtual career fair. So there's some key items I want to point out here, and you will get a copy of this slide deck. We'll get this sent out to you. But some of those key items. One, she led off by introducing herself and reinforcing how she met them. So this is a great way to validate your email and ensure you're not coming across as spam, right? So saying, my name is so-and-so. I had the pleasure of meeting you during the May 10th. Heroes Make America Virtual Career Fair. I really enjoyed the conversation. Once again, referencing that specific event that they met you at, okay? She also identified that she'd been researching the company and had identified positions within their organization that she was interested in and where they were located, right? So once again, showing that follow through, that intent, that commitment, right? People don't necessarily do that anymore. So this is a great way to make you stand out amongst your peers. She made an ask. So she said, may I get some guidance from you before I apply? Okay. She wasn't just reaching out and saying, hey, I applied for this position. Can you help me get the job? Right. We see that a lot. How many of you have ever tried to reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and they don't respond to you because we get 500 of those requests in a day where it's somebody just asking for something. They're not making it, um, a conversation, right? They're not making it beneficial to both parties. So we want to ensure that we're showing genuine interest and a desire to be considered, not just saying, hey, give me that job, right? She provided her resume for easy access and she linked the position she was interested in, making it very easy for the company to review them. So in this, she wasn't even saying like, hey, I've applied for these positions. Can you help me, follow up on those, which that would be an okay ask based on how you lead in the conversation. But instead, what she said is, these are the positions I'm interested in. I'd love to have a conversation with you about these positions, right? She wanted to learn more. She wanted to better understand which ones she might truly be the right fit for, so that as she went in and applied for the job, that she was successful. The folks that are attending our career fairs, they're willing to make time for you, right? Their end goal is to hire you. They want to ensure you're successful. So asking for that time where maybe you say, hey, this is my resume. This is the position I'm interested in. Do you have any recommendations on modifications that I should make, right? If they're really interested in you, they're going to help you with that. And then finally, she thanked them, right? So always, always be thankful and grateful for somebody's time, for somebody's expertise. So you can't say thank you too much, right? Katie, is there anything else you would add from this document?
Not in terms of what you would add, just the importance of sending it, of
Yep,
sending that follow-up email. That shows an extra level of interest that will set you apart from your peers. And this is what makes a difference in landing the job. Instead of you just applying to 100 different jobs and hoping for the best, these extra efforts are what make a difference.
absolutely. All right, and then we're going to show you the employer's perspective. Okay, so as we come to the end of our presentation, we want you to be exposed to what our employers receive after the event. So while we're encouraging you to stay engaged and follow up, we're making the same ask of the employers who attend. And if you registered, like we talked about earlier in the call, they're going to receive your registration information and a copy of your resume if you uploaded it. So make sure that we go in and we upload that resume. It's worth taking the few extra minutes to do that. And we also showed you how you can go in and edit that registration. So if you've already done it, but you didn't provide that resume, how you can go in and update that. Be prepared for them to engage. So check your email and your phone. This is why a job seeking email may be best to ensure that things don't get lost in the sauce. Okay. Make sure your voicemail is set up and that your inbox is not full, right? As employers, we'd like to be able to leave you a message and provide you our contact information and be responsive. If you wait 2 weeks to respond to somebody's email, they have probably moved past you, right? I think most employers are pretty flexible on how quickly you respond. I would say during the business week, 24 to 48 hours, right? Reaching out and saying, thank you so much for your email. I'd love to schedule some time, to talk. Even if you're not available that week, if you return their email and say, hey, I can't connect this week, but here's my windows of availability for next week or the week after, it's still showing a response. It's still showing follow through. And trust me, employers, we get it. People are busy. There's a lot happening in our lives. There's a lot happening with you during your transition, but communication is key in any aspect of this process. So at this time, we're going to move over into the Q&A session. So we're going to give you guys a chance now to ask any questions of Katie or I or the rest of the Heroes team that we have on the call today about those virtual career fairs or any of the information you saw on our slides today.
I will start, Rachel. Someone had asked regarding our example here for the post-event email, because you can see here on the very top says dear and then blank. So the question was, is that normal to address a person's name? This is just an example that we wanted to give and kind of not have that employer's name listed, but it is very important to put at least the first name or, Mr. So-and-so or whoever it might be, as part of addressing the email. Just wanted to make sure that we know that. So very simple, dear Rachel, and then keep on going. So that was a question. Great question. What else
I
we
like
got?
the attention to detail that they caught that we didn't have the name on there. So kudos, Victor, for catching that. We were just so riveting. There's no other questions.
Question here at Fort Stewart.
Yes.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Louis. So I wanted to know more about the breakout rooms. They're not individualized, they're more for everybody to go in. And how is it, how does it work? Do they just converse with one person at a time? Or does it happen, is it just a conversation where everybody talks, or how does that go?
That is a great question. You want to take that, Rachel? You want to
Yeah,
start?
so I'll start. So usually it's very much an open discussion. So usually you're going to come in and there may be a conversation already going. We do encourage the employers, just like we encourage the job seekers, to rotate through their information about every 15 to 20 minutes. So usually they're going to they'll have maybe a slide up that they're going to talk through with their contact information. So they may be in the midst of going through that, or maybe talking with a job seeker that is in there already. And that's why we talk about the importance of not monopolizing the conversation, because we want to make sure that as you come into a room where maybe something's already happening, when there's a pause, that you have the opportunity to step in. And what you can do to start that is to drop something in the chat when you get in the room. So having that elevator pitch ready to go, or something written up that talks about who you are and your experience and what you are looking to do when you get out, you can drop those things in the chat. And then that way we have the employers bring multiple people to the event, so that somebody is maybe live talking, another one's monitoring the chat, and then maybe they'll respond and say, "Hey, Kevin, we see your question or your note here in the chat. We'd love to talk to you." So giving you an opportunity to step in and speak, but it's not individualized. It's not one-on-one. So it is groups that are rotating through there. But a lot of the times what you'll find is a lot of the people in there are also asking questions that align with some of the ideas and questions you had as well. Katie, anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I think you covered all the points that I would want to include.
And Kevin, I think that kind of answers your question there as well in the chat. So Kevin asked, if you find a company you might be interested in, is it okay to hang out and listen, or do most people want the privacy when they go into a breakout room? These are very open discussions. I'm kind of a lurker myself, so you go in, kind of listen to the conversation that's happening in there, learn from what others are asking, learn about the company, and making sure you're capturing that contact information, so that if you're not comfortable, right? Not all of us are Katie and I who are okay having these group discussions and chatting in front of everybody. We know that that's not everybody's forte. So if you capture that contact information, then you can reach out to them to schedule that more individualized conversation, maybe an informational interview, to see if that company is the right fit for you.
That's a good segue into the next question I had in the chat about, what if I can't attend? I can't attend on May 10th. Don't stress. So you still received the employer detail list. And I might actually ask Renee if you will actually just add that document to this chat box in case there's someone here who is not registered. I still recommend you register so that you'll get information after the event from the employers, but maybe we'll drop in the document here in this session. So you, in case for some reason you didn't get it, you have it. So you can start the research. On the detail list, it has contact information. So there's a point of contact for each company with an email address. So if you're not able to attend on Friday, I still recommend sending an email. Let them know that unfortunately you're not able to attend, but you're so interested in this company and would love to schedule a follow-up conversation with them. So just like Rachel was talking about, scheduling that follow-up call. So I do recommend still connecting with them. And then also when you're in that break room, like you had mentioned, collect contact information. So there's one POC on this document that we're sending out because that's the main person who registered for the event and provided their contact information. But when you're in the breakout rooms, they may list several people that you're able to connect with. So it's still important to capture the different folks, because maybe asking a question is better suited for one person over another just because of location or whatever it might be. So I still recommend doing that. And then you'll also get, during the breakout rooms, a lot of them will have like the ability to schedule time on their calendar. So like a link for them for you to put time on their calendar. That's not going to be on the spreadsheet, but it's something that you'll capture during the breakout room. So just another way to engage after the event.
Yeah, and I want to reinforce too, even if you can't attend, make sure to register, because we capture that key information during your registration, like where you want to go, maybe what type of roles you're interested in. Are you actively looking or casually browsing? And we send that to the employers after the event. So if you've registered, they're going to get that so that they can reach out to you as well. So hitting it from both sides, right? You can use that employer details spreadsheet on your side to follow up with them. And then by registering, you put the onus on them to also follow up with you. So just creating that wraparound visibility for yourself.
Definitely. And Rachel, I may have missed this because I was typing a response when you were talking about breakout rooms, but in regards to Kevin's question about can you hang out and listen? Yes, of course, you're going to learn a ton of information just by others' conversations. And then the follow-up question, the chat direct message to me was, will that one-on-one conversation happen after the event? There might be opportunities though, where you're the only person in the breakout room. That could happen, right? Because of the way the shift of the job seekers, sometimes job seekers clump to one breakout room because they're afraid of being alone in a room. I'm the type of person where I'm like, there's 20 people in this room. I'm going to go to this one over here that has no one in it. So I'm going to get individualized time and ask all my questions and get that face-to-face time right then and there. And even if you're like, I'm just here to learn about the company and this is what I do, and having those specific conversations. So there's different tactics, right? You can go to one where a lot of people are because they're going to be covering a lot of information, but then maybe also you choose rooms because no one's there. And that gives you that more individualized time. Would you agree, Rachel?
Absolutely. I'm like you. I'm going to go into the rooms where there's fewer people so I can have all the attention.
Good question, guys. Let's see.
Did you get any other direct questions?
Mm-mm.
Well, we've still got about 8 minutes. But we also want to be mindful that not everybody wants to ask questions right now. So you do have our LinkedIn. It's back at the top of the chat, where you can connect with anybody from our team, and feel free to ask us questions about the event as well.
And
But
connect
Katie,
with us on LinkedIn so that we're building your network as well. Connect with all of our program managers. We have so many connections ourselves. So once you're connected to us, that kind of opens the door to all of our connections, right? It's all based off this degrees of separation on LinkedIn. So connect with all of us and just send us a little note and saying, hey, I'm in the Fort Stewart class, or, I'm a veteran. I heard your presentation. I would love to connect. Whatever it might be, connect with us. So definitely do that to increase your network as well. That's it. I think we just wrap it up, Rachel. Let's give these folks back a few minutes. Just one last reminder. So we do have the virtual fair this Friday. If you're not able to make this one, we do it quarterly. And maybe you're not quite ready to job search. Maybe you're casually looking right now. There is our next one's going to be August 23rd. So Friday, August 23rd, same time, 11 to 2 Eastern. So we can always mark our calendars for that future one as well. Then we've got 2 in-person ones. So if you happen to be in Kansas at Fort Riley, we've got an in-person one July 11th. And if you happen to be at Fort Cavazos down in Texas, then the July 31st should be on your calendar. But I think that's a wrap. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you learned something to help better prepare you for career fairs or employer engagements in general. This is vital information to help you be successful in your job search, which can be very daunting as we're doing it for the first time post-military. Or maybe we just haven't job searched in a while and we're getting back into it. So hopefully it meant something to you, and hopefully that you took something away from it. But that's a wrap, folks. We will see you next time.
hopefully we see you all on Friday. So.
Yeah.